Hello everyone, today's video is all about SDLT, Stamp Duty Land Tax. So, what's new? Well, recent court case on this, on the denial of the relief from the higher rates of SDLT. So, on main residences, you sell your main home, you buy another one, and you will not generally have to suffer the higher rates of SDLT. You'll be subject to the regular rates. However, what about from a timing perspective? If you haven't sold your existing main residence and you buy another one before you've sold the previous one, then in that scenario, the higher rates of SDLT kick in, and when you've sold your first one, then you apply to HMRC to get a refund of those higher rates to get them back to what the normal rate would have been. So it's just a timing issue that you'd normally suffer on the higher rates if you are going from one main residence to another, just that there's a bit of a lag in the process. So in this particular court case, a family lived in one big house, multi-generational, and they decided that going forward, what they would do is they would buy two separate units adjoining and knock through to be the new family home. So what they did, they bought the first unit and then they bought the second unit, but they were subject to the higher rate of SDLT. Why? Because the courts decided that the legislation applies to individual dwelling units. So even though they intended to knock through, make this one big dwelling unit, at the actual time of purchase, each one had to be considered on its own merits, and each one was not intended to be the replacement main dwelling. So looking at each one in isolation, that was not the intention. The intention was to create one great big property, and that was to be the replacement for the original family home that they had. So on the face of it, may seem a bit harsh. You may say, well, okay, they're knocking through, but that is going to be ultimately the family home replacing the existing family home. But that's not what the courts decided. The court said that strictly the law is written, you've got to look at it on an individual basis at the time of the purchase. And at the time of the purchase of each of those units, there was not the intention to make each one the family home. The purpose was to combine it. May seem harsh, but that was what was decided in the courts. So just a bit of a heads up there on SDLT, particularly if you're doing something quirky like buying a replacement main residence before you've sold the previous one, thinking that the normal rates would apply, but doing something quirky like this particular family did, buying two separate units, knocking together. So just be careful. So SDLT, not always straightforward. If you like this video, do subscribe here, and I will see you soon.